Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Courtney, and it's time for my weekly What's for Dinner video. Every week I share one of these to highlight the meals that I made for my family throughout the week. Hopefully you guys are getting a little motivation and inspiration to try some new recipes, get in the kitchen, cook for your family, all that kind of stuff. I know sometimes I can use some inspiration and some motivation, and watching other people always helps me out, so I hope this helps you guys out too. Anyway, today's video is probably a little shorter than usual. I only have a couple of meals. I feel like we had some leftovers, and then one night I just really didn't feel well. I had a migraine, so we had sandwiches, things like that. So I didn't have, a full week's worth of meals, but I am sharing with you what I do have. I did not share the sandwiches. They were just simple sandwiches. Anyway, first meal of the week. This was Sunday, so for lunch, I was making steak. My husband, myself, and my oldest are the only ones that eat steak. My oldest was at work that day, so I cooked his when he got home, so it was fresh. But I am making one for my husband and one for myself. They're just New York strip steaks. I started off by slicing the fat off the edges. There's like a really thick fat strip on the side of these steaks typically, and it's just way more fat than I want to deal with. So if I think about it, I usually will try to go ahead and slice it off. Next, I go ahead and pat the steaks dry, and then I'm going to season them. Today I'm using salt, pepper, and this wood-fired garlic that I picked up at Sam's Club. I was super excited to use it. The stuff is so good. It has a really unique flavor. A little bit goes a long way, but it really, really brought something special to the steak. So if you see this, I really recommend it. It was quite tasty. I've actually used it in a couple of other dishes now. Anyway, I went ahead and patted the seasoning on just to make sure that it stuck really well. And of course, I'm seasoning both sides of the steak. Always make sure you dry your steaks off before you season them. As you can see, I have mine on a cooling rack over a dish, and that way they're not soaking in their own juices, they're not soaking in a puddle. The drier the outside of your steak is, the better you're going to get a really nice sear on the outside. And because I'm cooking mine in the house, I'm really looking to have some high heat and good contact to get that Maillard effect, which is just that crispy, delicious crust that forms on the outside of meat. Now, admittedly, these are much better when my husband tosses them on the grill, but sometimes we're just not feeling like going out and fighting the wind. If you've ever been to West Texas, we have a lot of wind, and some days we just don't want to mess with it. So I do cook these in the house sometimes, and for this particular lunch, I am using a brand new griddle that my husband got me for Christmas. I love this thing, by the way. So for the griddle, I just put a little bit of bacon grease on there just to make sure that nothing stuck, and it kind of gives that extra delicious bacony flavor. I mean, it's not overwhelming, you can barely taste it, but there's a little something special in there, and I like what it does. I cooked these steaks on a few minutes per side, about 4 to 5 minutes. We like a rare steak, so you might want to cook yours longer. Totally up to you. I'm just looking to get that beautiful sear on the outside and keep them nice and a reddish pink on the inside. Now, in that other pot that I'm working with right now, I am actually making the only side dish I'm serving because these steaks were pretty big. If you watched last week's What's for Dinner video, I had made a homemade broccoli Alfredo. We had a little bit of sauce left, and so I decided it would be the perfect side dish. My oldest does not like Alfredo sauce, and he wasn't here. I'm really just cooking for my husband and myself at this point. My little ones had eaten something totally different. So I took that leftover broccoli Alfredo sauce, just cooked up a little bit of farfalle pasta, and served it with that, and it really was the perfect side for these steaks. And as you can see, they have a really great sear on them. That Maillard effect did its thing. That brown delicious goodness is all flavor, and it's so good. There's a steak. We loved it. Steak's always a hit in my house. We always enjoy it. All right, so on to the next night. Originally, I had said we were going to have fajita bowls, but as I talked to people in my household, they really just wanted regular fajitas, so that is what I ended up doing, just regular fajitas. We serve them kind of like a taco or a burrito, and that's the way we ate them on this particular night. So where I live, most of the Mexican restaurants around here will serve grilled peppers, like bell peppers and onions with their fajitas. So that's what I do when I serve them. And I start by just chopping them small. I have these little sweet baby bell peppers, and that's typically what I have because that is what we like to eat. I do like to remove the seeds and the ribs, anything that has like a bitter taste to it. I go ahead and take it out. I don't like the seeds because they just don't have a good mouthfeel to them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just kind of hard and chewy, so I try to get them out of the way. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of dice these up in large pieces, and I'm going to pop them in that bowl right there. And then as you can see in the background over there, I also have an onion. I'm going to just thinly slice that onion and place it in the bowl with the peppers. And then I like to marinate mine. So on this night, I'm going to put a little bit of Worcestershire sauce and some liquid smoke in there. I'm also going to add some of that wood-fired garlic, but that is not necessary. If you don't have it, no worries. Up until this day, I hadn't used it before. I've always just used just a hint of regular garlic powder just for something special in there. But I just toss all that together, and I like to set it to the side on the counter for like 10 or 15 minutes, and those veggies will really soak up that beefy Worcestershire flavor. They get a little bit of that liquid smoke in there, and it gives them a really nice wood-fire grilled flavor, which where I live, that's the way fajitas are often served, so that's kind of what we like. Sometimes we will cook these on the grill, and I think they're even better that way, but again, let's talk about the windy situation we have out here in West Texas. This week I thought we were going to blow away, so we're definitely not grilling. But, you know, we mimic those flavors inside, and it always turns out just fine. While these are setting off to the side, I am going to go ahead and make some guacamole here in just a second. I'm not doing anything fancy. Sometimes I will mix like cream cheese in there and all kinds of stuff, but on this particular night, I didn't do any of that. I just mashed up a couple of avocados, added a little salt, a little pepper, a little lime juice, and a little garlic powder. That was it. And this really is perfect guacamole. If you don't have any of the other stuff, no worries. This tastes absolutely beautiful. We enjoyed it, and we ate every single bite. Whether it was on our fajita burritos or with chips, we ate all of it. It was so, so good. So while this is all going, I do have my griddle pan off to the side heating up. I am going to toss these peppers and onions on that griddle pan. Now, I'm looking for a little bit of char around the edges, that brown and black goodness, like it's been cooked over an open flame. So I do have mine turned up a little higher than you would think, and I am going to cook them just for a few minutes, not for long. I want them to still be a little crisp, like if you were cooking stir-fry vegetables. We don't want them totally soft. Now, while that's heating up, I am opening some beans. Those are Isadora beans, I think is what they're called. I love these. If you've got access to these in your store, I absolutely think these are the best refried beans I have ever had. They taste amazing. They come in a bag. You can heat them up in the bag, but I knew that we would have leftovers, so I just put them in that bowl because I knew I would store them in the fridge. If you don't have them, don't worry. You can use any kind of beans, black beans, refried beans in a can. It really doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. But if you can find those, I highly advise them. Okay, so here we are doing the peppers and onions on that griddle. It doesn't take long. This was just a few minutes, and they were done and ready to go. Okay, so those peppers and onions are about done. As you can see, they have a little bit of char on the edges. They're still a little bit crispy, not cooked all the way through, but just perfect in my opinion. So next I'm going to go ahead and cook the fajita meat. I put a little bit of oil down just to make sure nothing's stuck. So this is a pre-seasoned sirloin steak. It said it was seasoned fajita style. I bought it at Walmart. I don't love it. I probably would not buy it again. If you're at home and you want to make your own fajita meat, my recommendation is Worcestershire sauce, liquid smoke, soy sauce, and garlic. Throw it in a bag, let it marinate for 6 to 8 hours. It's got an amazing flavor. So, so delicious. But this is what I had, and this is what I was cooking. I had purchased it on markdown at Walmart one day, and it was okay. I mean, we ate it. It was fine. Definitely not my favorite, though. As you can see, I cook it a lot like I do my steaks. Get a nice sear on the outside, and I like it to be just a little bit like medium rare on the inside. I'm going to slice that nice and thinly and pop it in a bowl, and that's the meat. You can see the peppers and onions. I heated up those beans that I had earlier, and that's the last of a batch of salsa that I had in the fridge. And we just made these burritos. I have some sour cream and some cheese on mine as well, just some little flour tortillas. I heated them up on that griddle as well. These were really, really good. Okay, on to the next night. We're going to make some shrimp pasta. This was something really simple, really easy. I put some butter and some olive oil in the skillet. That's just so the butter does not burn. I showed you my packet of shrimp there. I did pick it up on markdown at Walmart. That was an epic deal. So that was a lot of shrimp, and I paid $5 and some change. It was peeled, deveined, tails off. That was awesome, just the way I love to buy it. So little work on my part. It makes my night so easy. I tossed the shrimp in the skillet with the butter and olive oil, and then I put a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper in there. I let it cook for a few seconds while I stirred the pasta next to it, and then tossed in a tablespoon of minced garlic. That's probably like 2 cloves or so. Gonna go ahead and stir that up, let it cook for just a minute, and then we're gonna add a little tiny bit of flour in here, like a tablespoon and a half of flour, and let that cook for a couple of minutes so that the flour taste cooks out and it doesn't have that like real floury flavor to it. And then I'm going to add in some white wine. I did probably a cup, maybe just a little bit over a cup. I didn't measure. We're not making this sauce to like drown our noodles in. It's just to lightly drizzle over and cook the shrimp in to give them a little extra flavor. So I just used a bit of this wine that I've been trying to get rid of, probably about a cup. If you don't have wine, no worries at all. Use chicken broth. It's going to be amazing. I tossed in a little bit of lemon juice too, just to kind of give it a nice vibrant flavor. If you're using chicken broth, double the amount of lemon juice. I did about a tablespoon. You want to do about 2. And we're just going to let this simmer for just a few minutes. We don't want to overcook the shrimp. They don't take very long to cook at all. This is a really fast process. I made the sauce in like less than 10 minutes. And then here I'm adding in capers. You probably only need 1 to 2 tablespoons. I might have tossed in more or less. If you've watched my channel, you know how much I love capers. I absolutely adore them. But I stirred that all together, and it's just simmering and thickening up because of the flour that I added in there. So off to the side, I didn't do this on camera because I've actually made these before on my channel, but I'm making some homemade Cheddar Bay biscuits. So I just have a box of store brand Bisquick, and I'm following the directions to make biscuits on there. And I'm adding in about a cup of cheddar cheese and about a half a teaspoon of some garlic powder. And then I just bake them according to the box directions. There they are when they come out of the oven. So in that bowl right there, I have some butter that I mixed a little bit of Italian seasoning, salt, and garlic powder in. And I'm just going to spread it over the top. These are so, so good. Way, way cheaper to do it this way than to buy the Cheddar Bay biscuit mix in the box. That stuff's pretty pricey. It's like $4 and some change at my grocery stores. I can get a box of Bisquick for less than that. I almost always have cheddar cheese in my house. I always have garlic powder, always have butter, and always have onion powder. And look, guys, if you run out of real butter, feel free to use like Country Crock in the tub. It works great on these biscuits. I've done that before in a pinch, and it's awesome. There's the finished meal. Like I said, I didn't sauce the noodles. I just barely drizzled any of that over the top to keep the noodles from sticking together. So good, so delicious. Those shrimp were so full of flavor. Okay. This meal is called Amish chicken and noodles, I think. I will link this one down below. I'll list or link every recipe down below. I try to do that every single week when I post these videos. Today's no exception. So this recipe is super, super simple. I liked it and it was fine, but it was definitely not my favorite. My husband really liked it. I knew he would. He loves this kind of stuff. If you're into like chicken pot pie or chicken and dumplings, this is right up your alley. You're going to love it. So I emptied a can of cream of chicken soup, a little bit of chicken base, a little bit of water. It called for regular onion. This is early in the morning going in my crock pot, and I just was busy with homeschool, so I just threw in some dehydrated onion and a little bit of thyme, and I'm just stirring that all together, and I'm going to add some pepper. I didn't add any salt because the soup and the chicken base for the chicken broth that I don't have chicken broth. I just mixed the base in the water. Either way, it's so salty. I didn't feel like I needed any salt at that point. So I just mixed all of that together, and then I threw in my chicken. I'm using chicken thighs. The recipe I think called for chicken breast, but this is what I had in my deep freeze, and it was sitting right there on top, so this is what I'm using. And then I just set this to cook all day long because that chicken was frozen. And I served it with those frozen noodles. I can't remember, Reams noodles, that's what they are. I added a little bit of frozen peas and carrots in there towards the end too, just for some greenery. It was fine. If you like chicken and dumplings, you're going to love that one. All right, so this is the last meal of the week. I had purchased some steak fingers at the store, and I'm just going to pop them in the oven and cook them. This is our side. I diced up a couple of zucchini, put some olive oil, some of that Kinder's, the blend, it's salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and a little bit of smoked paprika on them, and I am popping them into a 425-degree oven for like 20 minutes. They're going to cook. They're going to get a little brown around the edges and whatnot. They're going to be awesome. It brings flavor to it. While all of that is happening, there go those steak fingers right into the oven. I am making some homemade mashed potatoes. Super simple. I took 2 potatoes, peeled them, diced them, boiled them for like 10 minutes. That's all it took. And now I'm going to add in a couple of tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to go ahead and mash and mash and mash. And once I've gotten the majority of the lumps out, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my liquids. I like to use heavy whipping cream in my mashed potatoes. Now, I don't make them all the time. That's why it really doesn't bother me to do this every now and then. If you make mashed potatoes a lot, I'd probably stick with like half and half. Heavy whipping cream has a lot of fat in it, but man, is it delicious. Anyway, I always add a little more milk or cream than you think. I know they look super liquidy, but when they sit for 5 minutes, those potatoes really absorb it and the starch thickens them right up. They will not be that loose at the end when you serve them. I just added salt and pepper, nothing else. My husband's a purist. He likes simple mashed potatoes. Salt, pepper, butter, and cream. That's it. And that's what I made. They're whipped and they were delicious. They were really, really good. And that water that you see off to the side, I'm just making one of those packets of white gravy that I served with the steak fingers. There's the plate. The zucchini was the winner for me on this dinner. Anyway, none of these meals this week were challenging, but they were all delicious. They were all easy. We really, really liked them. I hope you guys will give these a shot. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I enjoyed sharing these with you. Thank you for watching. Please go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys again soon with another video.